Hello and welcome to the video where I will talk about various concepts related to project management. Briefly, the discussion will be really short. I will try to talk about each of the topics in less than 1 minute. Now, before moving on, a short intro. Done with the short intro. And now, let's move on. First of all, we have feasibility study. Feasibility study is needed to figure out whether or not you can actually perform the project or not. Let's say that you have a lot of time in your hand, but you have like $7 and you plan to launch a rocket into space. The feasibility study is going to tell you that it's not going to happen. That was it for feasibility study. Now let's talk about milestones. Milestones are needed to properly mark how far your project has come and how far it still has to go. You only put milestones in important stages. The beginning will be a milestone. We have launched. The ending is obviously another milestone. You can also put some milestones in between the track on how far you have come, probably at 25% or 50% mark. Now, let's talk about baselines of a project. Project baseline is actually defining what the project is going to be. There are generally 3 components in a project baseline. You need to define exactly what you are going to do in your project, and then you need to define how much money the project is going to need, and you also need to define how long is the project going to take. These 3 components are generally the baselines of a project. I'll talk about these 3 components once again later in this video. But for now, let's talk about stakeholders. We all know what stakeholders are. Stakeholders, well, is everybody that can be affected by the project. Everybody. The people working in the organization, the people working directly in the project, the people that live near the factory, the investor, everybody. Now, let's talk about work breakdown structure. For project management, you are going to need to break down the project into different tasks step by step. This is what the work breakdown structure is going to look like. You have the entire project, then you have separate parts, and under these separate parts, you are going to have different tasks that are going to be needed to complete. You also have Gantt chart that you can use. For Gantt chart, you are going to have a spreadsheet where you will list out what tasks there are and how long each of the tasks is going to take. The Gantt chart is going to look something like this. If you can read this correctly, the task 1 is going to start at week 1 and end at week 2. Task 4 will start at week 2 and go until week 5. The last task, task 7, will start at week 6 and end at week 9. Now, let's talk about risk register. We all know what risks are. In a project, you need to have a risk register where you will list out the probable risks and every single details related to the risks. These are the components of a risk register. I am not going to go into any details of these components. You can see what they are and you can probably figure out by just the name. If you don't, I have a detailed video. You can check out my playlist. And after this, we have contingency plan. This is also a component of the risk register. Contingency plan is just a fancy way of saying backup plan. Whatever you have planned can go wrong. I am not saying it will go wrong. Captain Murphy said that. I am saying it can go wrong. You need to have a contingency that you are going to follow if a specific part of the process faces some major problems. Now let's talk about a business case. A business case is a document where you are going to formally write down the justifications behind your project. Whatever project you are doing, you are going to need some form of permission from whatever authority. You are going to have to write down what the project is going to accomplish, what will be the benefits of completing this project, and again how long the project is going to take and how much money is going to be needed to complete this project. Now let's talk about network diagrams. Network diagrams are another way of visualizing the entire project. That is, which task is going to be followed by which one. A simplified network diagram is going to look something like this. Here you can see what tasks depends on which one. You can also put out the number of units over these arrows to figure out how long is it going to take. That's it for network diagram. Now let's talk about project life cycles. Every single project is going to follow a specific life cycle. The stages of the life cycle are initiation, planning, execution, and closing. For one project, planning is going to take a lot of time and execution will not take that much time. For some other project, planning will not take that much time at all, but for executing the project, it is going to take a long time. The next concept I'm going to talk about is triple constraint. This is about the three things I have talked about before. The three things that are there in every single project. They are represented by a triangle. I have already talked about for a little bit. These three things are scope, time, and budget. It is said that you usually get two of them good and have to sacrifice one. So, if you don't have a lot of money and want to perform at a certain level, you will need to complete it at a slower rate. And if you want to finish the project properly and don't have a lot of time, you will need a lot of money. The next concept I'm going to talk about is RAG status, RAG. Could have been called RIG status or RYG status because the RAG stands for red, amber, and green. For every task of the project, you will have to assign the RAG status. If green, the task is going great. If amber, it could have been better, but still doable. But if it's red, it's a disaster. Start over or go for your contingency. There are different methodologies in project management. You can follow any of them. There are a lot. I actually haven't talked about them in my previous videos in project management series. The methods are Agile, Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Prince2, and Waterfall. That's all I'm going to talk about methodologies. And if you want me to make a video on them, comment below and I'll be on it. The next topic I'm going to talk about will be deliverables. Every project is going to have some deliverables. Deliverable is what you are going to deliver after finishing the project. A specific thing you are going to deliver. The deliverable is going to be completed with project closure. The deliverable can be the entire project itself, or it can be a specific part of the project. The next topic I'll talk about is earned value. Earned value is a little complicated. The main idea is that at any specific point of the project, you can see how much money you have spent. And through earned value analysis, you can find out whether you are going to be able to finish the project on your expected budget or not. That was a little too oversimplified. There are equations you need to know to learn about earned value analysis. You can watch my video on earned value to learn about that in details. There's also schedule variance. In any stage of the project, you can find out if you are on schedule or not. I already talked about Gantt chart before. Look at the Gantt chart, see what you have planned, and then figure out whether you are actually following that plan or not. And that was it for various terms related to project management. If you have any questions, you can ask below. I also need to remind you that you have a lot of options to support whatever I am doing in this channel. The direct way would be to support me on Patreon. But liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and even watching another video is also a great way to support me. Every bit is helpful. Now, bonus time. For bonus, Murphy's Law is actually attributed to US Air Force Captain Edward A. Murphy. Murphy's Law that says everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Although people have said this term a long time before Captain Edward, it is actually named after him. Alright. You have made it. You have made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. That is, if you're still watching. You know what, even if you're not watching at this point, maybe you saw the parts you needed to know about and have clicked off after I talked about various ways of supporting me. That's okay. I'm still thankful that you have clicked on this video. And to the people that are not watching and have not clicked on this video, nothing matters. Goodbye for now. No, I did not forget it. Lastly, I hope you learned something new today.